Hello everyone, welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers and this is a weekly show that I do on Wednesdays at 11 Central, and I just demo things in SharePoint and new things and just try things out, and you never know what's going to happen. So I usually have my cohort Joelle Jobson here on Power Hour with me. She's not here today, so it's just going to be me, and our topic is flow. So with no further ado, the topic is going to be a lot of these new SharePoint actions that were announced at Ignite and improvements to some SharePoint actions. So what we're really going to be doing is poking around in there, trying things out, testing, and showing some of the new capabilities, and not just new actions, but new capabilities in some of the existing actions. So it's gonna be pretty ad hoc, but we're gonna be looking through those. Also, I am iwmentor.com, of course, is my training company. We're in the middle of creating a flow class. So of course, the stuff that I do in Power Hour is just very ad hoc and informal. But our classes, like we have a Power Apps class, that's a 4-day class. The classes are more structured, and we have slides and we explain things. But Power Hour's just, you never know. So it's usually a lot of fun and troubleshooting. We also have, if you're looking at us on YouTube, we have a Slack channel where we have our conversations and we have our discussion and questions going on throughout Power Hour. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and broadcast to YouTube as well. I almost forgot. Facebook. There we go. Sorry, flow. Type that up real quick. And so you all jump into Slack, and basically it's going to give you an invite the first time you join. You have to fill out a little form, and then I have to manually invite you. But then you'll have a Slack account, and then you can come in here every Wednesday when it's time for the show. New. Okay. And go. Okay. All right, now we're broadcasting to both Facebook and YouTube. Cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hi everyone. Wow, it's good to see a bunch of you in here. We have 67 live viewers. That's huge. There are 1,000 of you in that have joined the Slack channel, so that's awesome. Welcome. And again, this is fun and interactive, so just keep that in mind as we're going through and breaking stuff and figuring it out. All right, so here is, let's see, let me trim that real quick. Got my light showing there. There we go. Okay, there's my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and go to Flow. Let me make sure and save what I was doing. All right, so the first thing that we're doing, and I just put a link to it in the chat, is we're going to talk about these new actions having to do with joining hub sites. So you all probably know what hub sites are by now. Microsoft's been talking about them a lot, and we've even done a Power Hour about hub sites. And right now it's still currently done in PowerShell to make a site a hub site. Microsoft did announce that they're going to put new capabilities in the SharePoint Admin Center. So there's going to be the ability to manage hub sites and create hub sites from within there. And also there's going to be the ability to, I'll just go to a hub site real quick. There's going to be the ability to create new sites that should be part of the hub site from within the hub site, because they're touting this whole new concept of, well, it's not that new, but this concept of a flat structure and not having subsites. So with the flat structure, everything is technically a site collection. So you don't have necessarily built-in hierarchy. So the hub site is the hierarchy. But where people would be used to going in here and clicking to create a subsite, instead they want you to move away from subsites. So instead of subsites, you create another site collection and join it to the hub site. So they're going to make it easier to do it from here, from within the hub site, to add other like child sites to the hub. So just real quick overview, this is a hub site that I'm on right now, Contoso Electronics. And this is I use the SharePoint starter kit to create this. And so when you're in a hub site, and again, you have to do this through PowerShell to make it a hub site, you can give it a navigation name. So if I wanted the navigation to say Contoso, I can, that's what it'll say up here. And then the site design is the sort of like a site designs are kind of like a template. And we've talked about those in other Power Hours too. So I just changed this Contoso. So now this is Contoso, and all the other sites like human resources, now they have this navigation that stays with it. And it says Contoso in the navigation. And when I have a child, so this is a child site, but it is a site collection. And when I go to site information, that's where it says that's what the hub site is that it's associated with, the Contoso one. So what we're doing is, what they announced is, apparently when hub sites came out, hub sites would end up with all these child sites that had joined them, whether they liked it or not. So like people were just joining hub sites willy-nilly. Well, from within the hub site, you can actually, roll up all the news and roll up subsites and things like that here. And so you'd end up with all these sites that you didn't want to be connected to your hub site or didn't approve of. They would all just kind of plop themselves in here. So, for example, there's a web part where you can show all the associated sites. I'll just add that on here real quick. Dun, 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 dun. And a lot of these are custom web parts. This is part of that, like I said, part of that starter kit. So there is a web part called sites. Let me just find it. There. Okay, so here are the two sites right now that are associated with this hub site. So you can actually choose whether you want to show all sites in the hub or pick specific sites and check and uncheck just any sites. Okay, so this website shows all sites in the hub. I'll go ahead and publish that. So it's only these two right now. So the idea behind this flow is that people would have to request to join the hub site. Now, so the first thing I noticed is that, so when you're going to create a new flow and you're adding a trigger, so let's go look at our SharePoint triggers. So this is a trigger when a site has requested to join a hub site. So I went ahead and I'll cancel this because I already created one, but that is going to be what your trigger is. So when a site requests to join a hub site, that's the trigger. But the problem is when you're creating the workflow, you actually have to tell it what the site is right here. So to me, that's a flaw. I don't know if I'm missing something, but I think that's a bug. But because you have to tell it which site is going to be requesting to join the hub site. So I don't know. Maybe that's supposed to be, I tried this with the actual hub site URL in here, but that didn't work either. So I'm going to try this as the actual hub site URL one more time, but you do need the hub site ID. So where I got the hub site ID, it's just a PowerShell command. And I just connected to my site, to my tenant, and I did get PNP hub site identity, and then I put the URL of my hub site in there. So then it spits out this site ID. Yeah, that does sound kind of backwards, John. So theoretically you could put a different trigger, I guess, a manual trigger, and make them do something else to fill out a form or something to join a hub site, but then that would be kind of defeat the purpose of them just going to the site settings and clicking the name of a hub site to join, which is apparently what people have been doing. So this is where you get the site ID, the hub site. That's where I got it. I don't know of an easier way to do it, but that's where I got this hub site ID. And then I just pasted it in here. Let me try that again. Include a site address. Yeah. There. Sites. Oh, let me make sure I got my right. Oh, demo portal. Haha. Demo portal is what it's called. It would help if I put the right name of it. Okay, so when a site is requested to join a hub site, and then you have several other actions related to this whole thing with joining a hub site. So there's actually an action called set hub site join status to pending. So you have to say what the requesting site is. So when you request to join a hub site, you are given some of these little parameters that you can work with, and one of them is the requesting site URL. So that's the requesting site URL where you put in here. And then the approval correlation ID is actually something that it provided me as part of this trigger. And then that's when you start your approval. So again, the session where they actually demoed all this at Ignite was BRK 2105, and I put the link to this in the chat in Slack. It was Chris McNulty and Chocks. And then it's about at the 30-minute mark where they start doing this workflow. So this is, I actually, started building this myself, and then I went and double checked and looked at what some of their actions were. So that is where they demo the whole thing. So you set hub join status to pending, and apparently if you don't do this action from me testing it a few minutes ago, then it just joins it. So you have to set the hub's join status to pending and then start the approval process. So then who do you want the approval to go to? I can just say anyone from the assigned list, and then you can put, one or more people here, and then I could say approve join hub site. Now, another thing that they did was they set it to pending, and then they actually did an action where they said to go get the name of the site. And if you go look in their little video and look in the screenshot, and I didn't watch, so I watched it when I was in their session, but I didn't watch it in detail, like right before this power hour, to see, if they went through actually typing and filling all these out. But let me go look at, let's see, site. I'm going to type site here. So what they were doing is, instead of just having the site URL, they were getting the name, the actual display name of the site. So yeah, I don't see one that specifically says to go get a site, so they probably use just some other action. Do you all know off the top of your head? Steve, I don't know if there's a non-PowerShell way to get the ID. I'm not sure off the top of my head. That was just the way that I knew to do it. Because with a SharePoint list, you can go in and when you go to the list settings page, the ID is there in the URL. So, but I don't know if there's anything like that for hub sites. It would be nice to not have to use PowerShell. Anyway, I'm going to try, just for fun, I'm going to try this get list one. And now, anytime you want to go fill in a site address and you don't want to pick one of the ones from the drop down, you want to use like one of your parameters here, then you need to click the little custom value. So I'll do requesting site URL. So I'll just do this and just see what that gives me. All right, and then start an approval. So I'm sending it to myself. I'm it would be nice instead of having just the requesting site URL to actually have the name of the site, but you can say who the requester is, and you can actually get the person's name, the user that triggered the flow, the one that's actually trying to join the hub site. And then this site, blah, blah, blah. And then you could put requesting site URL or the name of it if you had that, would like to join your hub site. Now let me see if I'm going to get the name of it. No, this get less thing doesn't get the name of the site. It just gets the names of all the lists. So that one's not going to work. I'm just going to take that one out. Yeah, so if any of you know off the top of your head what action that you would use to go get the name of a site, just let me know. All right, so start an approval. And then I didn't put any links, like a link to the item to approve. I mean, technically you could do that. You could have them be able to go look at that site that's requesting. So you could put the requesting site URL, and I would just put the requesting site URL here too, for them to be able to get the approval and then go look at it. And then depending on, so response is equal to approve. Now I noticed this is another new thing that I noticed when I was looking at this response. Now I'm going to take this out of here. So you used to have a response like each response. And then if you put each response in here, it would put it in an if, and it would do something separate for each response. But I just want the overall response to the request. So that's going to be like overall, when all these approvals were sent, what was it approved or rejected? So that's nice to have now, because it's not going to make me do a loop through all the responses. It's huge. And this is new too, a summary of the responses, all of the responses. So technically you could actually put all these like in the email that the person receives, letting them know, you know, just when you're doing the approval action. So this is a lot that's been added to the approval action that's new that I'd like to point out. Because the whole point of this session, this episode, is just to kind of point out as many new things as we can. All right, so response is equal to approved if yes, approve hub site join request, and you get requesting site ID, and then you have to do join hub site. You have to do both. And then otherwise you're going to cancel the hub site join request. And you could send an email afterwards. You could send an email to the person requesting it saying what the outcome was. So I'll just do like an email. I'll type send email. Send an email to, and that's going to be the requester, the person that's requested to join, user email that's requested to join the site. The subject is hub site join approved. And then you could put just, you know, whatever text you want. No, wait, I don't want to say hub site approved. I want it to say just what the overall response was, because I want this email to be just generic. I don't want to have to send two different emails depending on if it was approved or rejected. I just want to say what the answer was. Does that make sense? So it's just one email. So it's just an email that's generic. And then here are more details. And then I do want this to be HTML. I want to put like carriage returns and stuff like that. And I'll put site. And then just real quick, and this is kind of ugly, right? Requesting site URL. And then responses. And then I can actually put a list of all the responses. Of course, I'm going to just send it to me. Response summary. There we go. All right, let's try this out. I have not tried it yet, so we'll see. We'll see what that does. All right, so I have a hub site, which is this Contoso Electronics, and I have, I'm going to refresh this just in case, this other site, I do mentor training, that is not part of a hub site. And I go to site information, and I'm going to choose Contoso here. Let's see what happens. So first of all, it doesn't tell them anything. So we'd probably want, yeah, so it automatically joined it. See, it doesn't tell them anything and it automatically joined it. So I tried this before, before I started Power Hour, and that's what it was doing. So I'm not sure what, I'm going to try. So it didn't work. It didn't even trigger or anything. So that's why it made me think that something was wrong with my trigger. So that's what I'm going to try, is I'm going to try to just change the site that's requesting it. And I'm going to hard code this in, which of course, like I said, doesn't make any sense, because you'd want it to just automatically trigger no matter which site tries to join it, right? Okay, so I'm going to say that's the site address. And then, but in the Microsoft example, in here, they actually had, see, when a site requests to join a hub site is their trigger. So, yeah, so I'm not sure. I think it might be a bug. All right, so I'm going to say the name of the site, make sure that's saved. And I'm going to take this site out of the hub site and say none. And then maybe I'll try a different site to try and join it, just in case. Site information, hub site. Oh wait, no, I can't do that because I hard-coded the name of the other one. Silly me. That wouldn't do much good, would it? What do y'all think of this? This kind of interesting concept. Has anybody out there started using hub sites, and have you started getting kind of some craziness with a lot of sites joining the hub sites, or anything that, familiar to what I'm talking about? Now, also, I'm not sure if this is not working because it takes a while. I'm not sure if it's supposed to take a while. I wouldn't think so, because it looks like it would be triggered instantaneously, like it would set it to pending. So I'm not sure. Yeah, see, it just doesn't even trigger. So I'm going to troubleshoot that later, and I knew before I even started that demo that it wasn't actually working. So I'm not sure what Microsoft did different to make theirs trigger and mine not trigger. But I mean, I know that I could go in here and create like some kind of form or some kind of input, like a manual trigger. That would be like a manually kicked off workflow or something like that, where you could put in, like, type the name of your site that you want to be able to join the hub site or something like that. So I'm not going to do all it, because I would think that when a site has requested to join a hub site, that trigger would just work automatically. So again, I'm not sure if it's just taking a long time, or if it's not working, or if I'm doing something wrong. But nevertheless, even though I wasn't getting it working, I still wanted to show these actions to you and show you kind of what they expect the proper order to be of the actions. Now let's go do another new flow and look at another. I might just do a, let's see, I've got my Power Apps site. Okay, I'm going to go to my list of projects here. So I've got a project manager, which is a people field that I'll need for this next one. This has taken a while. This was doing this to me the other day, where it was just taking a really long time. All you can do is wait, though, huh? I mean, I guess I could go into an existing one and try adding stuff into it, but there we go. I really wanted to do a new one. Okay. Now, first of all, let's look at the triggers again. If they would ever refresh. There we go. Okay, for selected item is not new. It's basically when you want to run a flow from just like from looking at a list or library, and you want to click a specific item and run a flow on it. When a file is created in a folder is fairly new. Most of these are pretty new, have already been there, except for when a file is created in a folder, when a file is created or modified in a folder. So that's something SharePoint Designer workflows didn't have. Tony, that's a good point. Do you think it's because you're an admin on the hub site, so it just passes through? I'm not sure, maybe. Or maybe it has to do with any kind of global settings that I need to turn on, like some sort of switch to make it so that you have to request to join the hub sites. Maybe there's a PowerShell, like something for that. But I'm just not sure off the top of my head. Kurt says, can a flow be run on several selected items in the list? No. And we can see that by just clicking multiple items. The only thing you can do is delete them. So when you select a single one, though, that's where you could, if you had a flow to run on a single item, like request sign-offs, that out of the box one that I did that whole Ignite session about. But this is where any flows that you would have that you could run on an individual item. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just say when an item is created or modified, and I'm going to point to this projects list that I have. Westerdale. Can we restrict the site collection owners so only a few can join Hub? I always recommend restricting who the owners are of a site. I mean, so yeah, if you're an owner, only owners are going to be able to do that in the first place. So it's already, yeah, they don't have necessarily site collection owners that they did in, I think they have just owners in Office 365 groups, but those are going to be the only people that can do it already. So are you finding that, have you found that people who are just members can join a hub? Because I wouldn't expect that it would let you do that. So apparently big companies that have hundreds of site collections and hundreds of Office 365 groups that have owners just all over the place, those owners are the ones that have been just willy-nilly joining all these hub sites. Okay, projects is my list, and this is fairly new setting, limit columns by view. This will help you with threshold issues, performance issues by just only specifying columns in a certain view that the workflow will be able to use. So especially if you have a large number of columns, you can limit those to a certain set of columns, and the only columns that you need to use in the workflow, so that you're not pulling in all of them. I'm not going to set that setting though. All right, so let's go look at some SharePoint new actions. We were looking at triggers before. Let's go look at actions. And I'm actually going to try what one of you said and make someone else the owner of, another site. So I'm going to go and make that other person try and get them to join the hub site. First of all, I'm going to leave the hub site. None. Let me do this real quick. Good old Billy Bob, my fake user here. I'm going to make him an owner, and I'm going to log in as him and then see if that makes a difference in a minute. All right. No, still waiting for the SharePoint actions to populate here. So, all right. So I made Billy Bob an owner of that site. Oh, here we go. SharePoint. And wait another 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to open a different browser and log in to my tenant as Billy Bob. All right, here are the SharePoint actions. So we already looked at the ones having to do with hub sites. Create a sharing link is new. So create a sharing link for a file or folder. And then get a hub site, of course. Move file, I believe, is new, because I think before you had to just copy and then delete. And then resolve person is new. And some of these, just frankly, I'm not sure which ones are new and which ones that I've just kind of never played with before. But we're gonna go look at this resolve person one. Because one of the things that I was at a customer this week, and one of the things that we were talking about was sort of file retention and just this concept of, you know, hundreds of files that are old just laying around everywhere in SharePoint, and the ability to create a flow that would send somebody an email after the files sort of hasn't been modified in a year or two, something like that. And send an email to, like, you could send it to the person that created the file and the last person that modified the file. But how do you know if those people are even still at the company? So that's when we started pondering this resolve person thing. So I have not done this. I have not played with this action yet. So we are just trying this out right now, and you all let me know if any of you have tried it. Okay, so my site is going to be Power Apps, and my list or library is going to be this project list, because that's the one that I'm using up here. It's that's triggering it. Okay, I got a whole bunch of people just fill out the form to join the Power Hour, but I don't have, I have to do those all manually, so I can't do it while I'm talking. All right, so, required parameters limit columns by view, not set or invalid. So that you actually have to do that here. So I'm going to, I wonder if I choose just all items. Because all items is the default, see? All items. And I do have the project manager. So the idea that I'm going to try and do is see what I can do with seeing if this is a valid user, the project manager, and theoretically the created by and the modified by. All right, so then, so I did that. Pick the column that you want to assign the value to. I wonder if I refresh this, it will know that I turned that setting on. Hold on, let me just delete this and re-add it. Oh man, I shouldn't have done that. That didn't take too long. Okay, resolve person. And then that's going to be that same site up above, same list. And then pick the column you want to assign the value to. Why is it saying? I think you just have to choose, maybe you just have to choose that setting, and then you just have to pick one over here. So projects, column that you want to assign the value to. I'll just say project manager. Resolve person. And then it's got two people fields. So not sure what that's about. I'm going to put my name. I'm just going to put my email address in here. Doesn't have, yeah, it doesn't even have the like the created by and the modified by people over here. All right. Oh, is this the one that it wanted me to put this setting in? So it wasn't talking about this up here. It was talking about itself, maybe. So let me look at that again. That is awkward. That is weird. Oh, look at that. See? So you had to scroll down, go to advanced, set limit columns by view, and then when you do that, your drop down actually has a people field in it. What do you know? So then I'm able to pick the column name properly. So then you have to put a person's email address in there. That is weird. Okay, I'm just going to see what this does. And I'm going to go, I'm saving this, and then I'm going to go trigger it. So I'll just go modify something over here. Oh, this is one that we've played around with different various power hours and stuff like that. So I changed that project status to active. And so that's what I changed. So that should trigger the workflow to run. And, you know, that could take up to 5 minutes. So depending on what flow license that you have, your flows, if you have the more like one of the paid ones, you can narrow it down to a flow getting, you know, it would be as short as a minute that it would run in. But I don't. I just have the free version of Flow that's part of my E1 tenant, and it could be up to 5 minutes. And that's one of the things that we did a power hour a couple weeks ago about how to directly send emails straight from a Power Apps without having to use Flow from a Power App. And that's one of the benefits of that, is that it just instantaneously, email just instantaneously goes, and you don't have to wait for a flow to run, to get triggered, to run. You don't have to wait 5 minutes. So, okay. So now while we're waiting for this to run, we'll do the whole cooking show. Oh, look, there it goes. So we didn't have to wait too long. Okay, so it ran successfully when an item was created, and then it resolved the person. Okay, so the column's project manager. So who was the project manager for that one? I was. And then I'm going to probably try it on, I'm going to try it on another one too, just to have that running too. 20. All right. And then all it did was return some claims information about that person. I guess if the person is not in the organization anymore, it just wouldn't resolve them. That is weird. Okay, so I'm going to wait for that second one. Let's see. I ran a second one on a project manager that was not me. So the person name in the project manager field is different than the person's name in that people field that I had to fill in, which was weird. So I'm going to go ahead, and another thing that you might want to keep get in the habit of doing when you're creating flows is add other owners. Not only add other owner, but you can add SharePoint as an owner. So it lets you pick the site, and it lets you pick the list that you're actually on, the list or library you're on, and add that list as an owner. So that just makes it so that more of just security. So someone leaves the company and you don't have flows that don't have an owner. Okay, so we have 2 succeeded now. Let's go see. Output. That is weird. I don't know. Do y'all think maybe I should put a person that's not in the company anymore? Yeah, but what does it do? I mean, I guess if they're not in the company anymore, it's going to give you a different result. So let's just go see what the outputs are that what it gives you to do something with afterwards. So I'll just do a real quick email action. And just look, I want to look at these outputs here. So it's giving me just claims department picture. So a lot of this is same information that you can get just from the Office 365 users. So maybe this action is just for people that don't have their directory in Office 365. It's just all the people that are just in using SharePoint and not using, I don't know, not without all your directory, not like maybe not using Active Directory. Okay, yeah, Kurt, I can try that. Let's see. See if you're allowed to put the column project manager in the field you put admin in. Select something else and then go back to it. Yeah, it will. Project manager claims. But it was successful either way. Huh. I guess you're comparing the column value to see if it matches a resolved person. I'm just going to make it send an email. So send it to me. And I'm going to put claims and department and display. So I guess maybe if you put, yeah, I guess it's trying to compare like the value in a field to an actual person. That's odd. I don't know. We'll have to ask Microsoft what kind of the purpose of this is. Here's a site here. I'll just send this to you all. This has got all this documentation. I'm going to put it in the general channel. There. In the general channel, I put the this documentation. So it's got, I'll just go look for resolve. Returns a single matching user value, so it can be assigned to a column of type person. If there are no matches or multiple matches, this action will error out. Single matching user value. Maybe that's the only way that you can actually set a people field in a workflow. Maybe that's what it sounds like it is. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to take this out of here. Okay, so if it's new, so a way to tell if it's new or not is going to be a condition to say if basically the created is equal to modified. Where is it? That is so weird. It's not giving me the created and modified date fields it's given me before. Whatever. Okay, I'm just going to run it on a all items. Okay, so when an item's created or modified, resolve person. So I want to maybe put a person in that field. Let's try an update action. And I know, I apologize for not, knowing all these little intimate details off the top of my head for people watching Power Hour, but there's a lot of new stuff they rolled out, and I don't know. There's a lot of little very minuscule, like little details just everywhere that I wasn't sure about. Okay, so when an item's created or modified, let me put the project name back in here. That was the only required field. You kind of have to do that when you're updating something no matter what. It's kind of annoying that even though it's already got a value in it, you have to put it in here in the workflow. Oh, okay. Thank you, Lisa. Look what Lisa sent us. So what did he say? The way it's ugly, yeah. Or else the user when it's rendered by the people picker. There is no check if the user is a valid user. So if you've already configured the person field to only accept users from a specific SharePoint user group, you'd want to ensure only that users get added to that column. Yeah. Person field. And add and update the list items accordingly. So are they saying that this doesn't work anymore? That this setting just doesn't work anymore and this is a workaround for it? What? That can't be right. Okay, I'm not gonna like sit here and read his whole blog post in front of y'all, but okay, good to know. All right, I'm gonna show you all the move file action. And I'm going to show you what I did with it and how I kind of discovered what I discovered. Because the move one is fairly new. And even in SharePoint Designer, you had to copy and then delete. There wasn't just a move. So here's what I created. A flow that the idea is to archive old files. And it's going to run, you can make it run just, once a week or something like that. Or however often you want it to run. The idea is that it's going to go get all the files in a particular library, and this one's customer files, and it's going to filter to say modified is less than, and then I'm going to say 30 days ago. So I'm going to change this to like 2 days ago just for this demo purposes, but you'd probably want to say like, it's basically today minus, and you could do like 365 here. So it would be it would narrow it down to only get the files that were modified over a year ago. So if you put add days UTC now minus 365. So it's going to filter down the files it's going to get from this library. And then for each file that is over a year old, it's going to send an email. So I put this just going to both the person that created the file and the person that modified the file last. So I just put the subject, this file is really old, what do you want to do? And I can put like the name of the file here. Name. And then user options, keep, archive, or delete. Now, what I noticed when I was testing this was that in the settings, let's see, which one was it? In the settings, it was looping through. Well, let's just run it and then see if we still have any problems and see if I need to do any troubleshooting. Okay, so for each file that it finds that has those circumstances, it sends these emails. And it says this file's really old. What do you want to do? Keep, archive, or delete. So this is a send email with action with options, and this lets them. This gives them 3 different buttons in just in the email itself. So now you can put more information about the file just in the body of the email if you want to. So I put here's your file, and I put a link to it. But you could, if you have other metadata and stuff like that, you could add that in the body of the email. So so it's header text, click 1. And then you can give them more information, header text for users, option selection, pick an option. And keep in mind that when you send this email with options and when you send like the approval action emails, those are actually going to look different to the end user, whether they're using Outlook Web Access or the Outlook client. So just kind of keep that in mind. You have no control over that, but just kind of keep that in mind, then it's going to look a little different. All right, so what it's going to do, and this is a good case to use the switch case. So instead of just using an if condition where it's if this, then yes or no, a switch lets me have these multiple options. So I have keep, archive, and delete. So I put a switch in here. So I'm just basically saying if it's keep, so if keep, and then this case is if archive, and then this one is if delete. You could put if delete, or you can just say otherwise delete it. Okay, or you could also make it wait a certain. You can make it wait a certain amount of time too before it deletes it. But this is just one small example. Of course, you'd have to know where you want to move them to and who's going to be the owner of those files and who has the permissions to the place you moved it to and stuff like that. So I have for keep, what it's doing is I added a new column to this library called reviewed. And I added this new column, and then so what it's going to do is just update that file and put the review date to today. So if they just click keep, immediately they're keeping it. The file is reviewed is today, and then that actually does modify the file too when it puts reviewed as today. So then it would automatically not fall into this filter of modified, less than 365 days ago. So that does the trick. So that puts it as reviewed. And then move file, this is the one I was going to demo. It says here's the current site, file to move, and you pick the current file. And then destination site and destination folder, and that's where you can actually pick a library or even a folder in a library. And then if another file is already there, you can choose to move with a new name, fail the action, move with a new name, or replace. So it's up to you to pick what you want to happen there, and then otherwise just delete it. Okay, so if they choose delete it. I'm going to say, what am I missing here? Anyone? Do you all think this is useful for archiving files? So I said I want to move it to this other library called this statement of work library, and I'll show you what it's going to do. Now I'm going to have to manually run this because so I'll go look at what the files are that I'm running it on. It's customer files. I probably would want to make it not choose folders too. I'd want to only choose files, not folders. So I'd have to do something like content type not equal folder. I'll have to see if I don't think I'm going to have time to add that in, but so it's going to literally folders are items in this library. So it's going to send me these emails about these folders as well. But there are some of my files. Oh yeah, Lisa, have a department with 7,000 documents. Goodness, that's old. Yeah. Make somebody make a decision. Okay. And then, I'll go manually run this. Now this one is going to probably send me all these emails. So it's sending me an email for each file. Now that's also another thing you might not want to, I'm not sure if there's a way that you could do just a digest of files to send them a whole lump of them, but I'm getting a separate email for each file. Okay, so basically it says click one option, here's your file, and then this is the text that I typed in the workflow. So I'm going to, this file is, I'm going to keep that. And yeah, got it. And then this other file is, I'm going to, now I'll show you the error that I'm getting when I choose archive. So it's going to error out, but that's fine. I'm going to archive a lot of these so I can just get the error and And I could delete, if I delete that, that's actually a folder. I don't want to delete that. Don't worry, I don't have too many. And then here's another folder. Keep. Okay, now let's go look at my flow. Okay, failed. I know it failed. I knew it was going to fail, and I wanted to show you all what I'm doing to troubleshoot this. So basically, when you use the move action, so this one, no dependent action succeeded. This is where it errored. So let's look at what it says. Missing or mismatched field definition on the destination list for field reviewed. So this is because I added a new column called reviewed in my customer files library, but the place that I'm moving them to, I didn't add reviewed. So a good way to make sure that you're going to need to make sure both libraries have the same set of columns. A good way to do that is going to be to use content types. So if you have implemented content types or you're implementing them going forward, you would have the library that the stuff is in using the same content type as the library that you're moving them to. That way they'll automatically have all the same fields. So I'm going to go ahead and add that reviewed action, the reviewed column to the other library real quick. Okay, let's see. That was here. And then quickly add a column. So that should do it. Now, remember the spaces and underscores and stuff like that, you need to create it identically to what you did in the other one. So let me go manually run this workflow again. It's going to run on less files though, right? Because, so let's go back to my customer files. Let's see if I have a flat view. Let me do a flat view real quick of these files, of this library. Create view. Standard view, no folders, and then just say folders, show all items without folders. That's the oldest trick in the book, but now I can just see my files without having to drill down into folders. All right, so now I can see this one was just modified. So these two files are going to have that workflow is going to trigger. So let's go run the workflow. And again, this would be running like once a week or once a month or whatever you want it to be, or every day, to go send those people the emails about the old files. Probably running it more often would be helpful, because that way people only have like a couple of files that they have to review in one fell swoop and not like a buttload of them and a buttload of emails. Okay, so let's go see what happened. I probably got some emails. Okay, so this is, I'm going to choose, so hours February. That is an Excel file. I'm going to choose archive. And then this is a folder. I'm going to keep it. And that is a file that I'm going to delete. Okay, let's see what happened now. It's still running. Let's go see if that file got moved. So there's only one file technically in here still. So let's go to the statement of work library. And I want to set these to newer on top. Look at that. There's my hours February file. Cool. So it got moved. It got archived off. Awesome. And you probably, yeah, and see there's my, I would probably want it to put the review date as now when I move it also. So that would be another step I'd have to add in here, but it's just about time to stop. But yeah, the flow ran and it's going to wait till everybody responds. But anyway, it ran and it did all the actions correctly. It deleted the one I wanted to delete, set the reviewed status, the reviewed column correctly. See, and then move the one that I wanted to move. See, reviewed. Cool. So what you do just real quick is you would, when you move it, if archive, you move it, and then you have to actually go do an update. So you can't change all the metadata while you're moving it. You'd have to then do an update action. Let me see if it even lets me do that. Update file properties. That's what I want to do. Ooh. There we go. So you don't want to use ID because that's the original file you moved. It's the item ID is the value that can be used to get or update file properties. So it tells you exactly what it's for. So that gives me the right file that I'm updating in the other library. So then I want reviewed, and I want to put that as today also. So what's that little formula that I did for if keep? And I put it updates file property. And I'll just use this same one. So I'm going to put UTC now. That's lazy. I'm just copying it. So reviewed is going to be UTC now. There we go. So then it would move it and set the review date. All right, we got to wrap it up. There's a lot of new stuff, again, that they announced at Ignite, that like new web parts and new, like a few things that haven't quite rolled out yet, like the SharePoint Admin Center updates and some new search stuff. So we got plenty of topics we can do for Power Hour, but we do have an ideas channel here in Slack that you can type your ideas in and people can vote on each other's ideas. So you pin the items. So if you go to the ideas channel and you look at the pinned items, that's where to pin the ones that you want people to vote on. So those are the main ones. And then, yeah, so I'll click on it if you're not a member of that channel yet. And that way you can just click on the word ideas that I just typed in there. Cool. All right. Thanks everybody for coming, and that was just fun ad hoc, just never knew what was going to happen, just poking around in Flow. So thanks for your patience, and I will see you next Wednesday's Halloween. I'll see you on Halloween, and over and out.